Doom on the Nintendo Switch is probably the funniest game I have ever played, and it's definitely not trying to be funny. I think the game's existence by itself is funny. This amazing game, peak graphics for its time, is somehow running on a tiny tablet with subpar hardware even for its time. For many of you who may watch my channel, I'm sure this video is absolutely fucking strange. Why is this guy who makes videos about block games suddenly talking about a random game that came out in 2016? The answer to that question, dear viewer, is simple. Because I feel like it. There are lots of games out there that I'd like to talk about, and I'd like to be able to talk about more than just Minecraft, believe it or not. Will this video do well in the algorithm? Hell no. Do I care? Fuck no. This is fun. I'm gonna make silly art that I want to make, and there's no reason for me not to do so. All that being said, Doom is not the kind of game that I would typically enjoy. When I play shooters, I'm more of an online shooter player. Games like Battlefield or COD make up the bulk of my experience. Yes, those are the lazy shooters that dads play when they get home from work. I'm lazy. Not a dad yet though, so winning. Single-player games like Halo or Metroid Prime really aren't much of my style, and I have tried my hand at many of these kinds of games. But I always seem to find my way back to these online shooter experiences that I can maybe play with my brother or something. Doom is very different. It's very much like Metroid Prime. I almost would consider it the other half to the same coin, if that makes sense, and I'll explain why. And that might be a whack comparison to some of you, but just follow me here. Metroid Prime has a big focus on isolation, atmosphere, and exploration. I would argue that the combat itself is secondary to the Metroid experience. It's important, but that prime factor that makes Metroid Metroid is that atmosphere and exploring the world. Doom, in many ways, is similar. The shooting is fun and the melee kills are hella satisfying, and it's very clear that the combat takes much more of a focus here than in Metroid, but I don't think that it's the primary driver for me. In fact, with how the game works, I'd argue it's my least favorite thing in the game, and I'd also argue that this game is my least favorite kind of shooter. Call me a pussy, but I like it when my health regenerates in shooters. This kind of thing where I have to scavenge for health, armor, and ammo gets old after a while, and personally, I find it to be more stressful than fun. What does it for Doom is the exploration and setting. Doom takes place in a UAC facility on Mars. What the fuck is the UAC? Who cares? I'm gonna explain it to you in a second anyway. The humans here are harvesting some energy called Argent, which comes from fucking hell, and this has caused some kind of a hell outbreak or some shit. I don't really know. If Doom Guy doesn't give a fuck, why should I care? Anyway, as I explore Mars in this UAC facility, I get the feeling that this place was never good. Sometimes, say in Metroid Prime, we can explore a place like Planet ZDR or Talon 4 and get the impression that this place was once good and lively. The UAC feels depressing, and as if it was always depressing. The corporate brutalism is on full display at all times. This game isn't shy about its capitalist greed angle either. We are explicitly told that the hell energy was being sold back to humanity to solve an energy crisis. Many have often argued that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but I think it's clear that in this case, it was never paved with such intentions. It was paved with corporate greed and a disgusting drive for money. And that's not even me editorializing either. The head of the UAC on Mars, Samuel Hayden, is not shy about his intentions. The UAC is not a force for good, and I don't think it's a reach to say that the game's core message is somewhat political. It's not a very interesting or unique political message, but it is something, so that's kind of neat. And for any of you who are about to take to the comments to type about how dare I make a political statement in a video about silly demon shoot game, please just check yourself for a moment. The game made these political statements long before I ever even played it. Anyway, there is a special kind of joy I get when I find small secrets or upgrades that I can only describe as Metroid-like. I don't think Metroid is the first to do this sort of thing, but it certainly helped make it popular by putting it into the core mechanics of the game. Whereas Metroid offers direct upgrades to Samus's suit, Doom lets you choose what upgrades you'd like by giving you a currency to sort of trade for all these upgrades. I often find that I miss many of these upgrades, and it makes me consider going back through each level to try and find more. Finding more isn't just for shits and giggles either. They are direct upgrades to your ability to fend off the demonic invasion. We have things like upgrading your ability to resist environmental damage, upgrades to your navigational abilities, as well as how quickly your grenades regenerate and other things. We can also upgrade our weapons using these little tokens, and these make our weapons so much more powerful. As we go on later in the game, these are necessary. You have to have them. What I love about this system is that the more thorough you are with exploration, the easier the game will be, and the faster you rush through these levels, the harder the game will be for you. This makes challenges like speedrunning all that more challenging, because players have to choose between getting some of those hard to reach upgrades and getting a faster time. That kind of trade-off is great, and it's the kind of thing I love to see in games. And as I've played, I've found that I do enjoy the combat more and more. While I said it was maybe my least favorite part of the game earlier in the script, that doesn't mean that I think it's bad. Quite the opposite. Combat in Doom is fun. It's fast, somewhat challenging at certain parts, and as I said in the beginning, extremely satisfying. All of this, everything that I've talked about this far, is what makes the game so funny to me. It feels like it shouldn't exist. It's a game that simply feels too modern and too big to fit on the Switch. I thought Skyrim, a game from 2011 that was this big open world, was pushing it in terms of what we could expect from the Switch. So to see some 2016 modern fast-paced shooter running and playing well on the Switch well enough, mind you, to have a good time, it makes me laugh. Is it the definitive version of Doom? Of course not. It's not even close to that, but it does have gyro aiming, so that's a plus. And I think this speaks to the level of potential third-party developers like Bethesda saw in the Switch as a platform. Console gaming experiences on the go were the way of the future. An all-in-one system that you can bring with your car or plop on the TV is still amazing to me today. Just think about it from the perspective of Bethesda. Nintendo was not doing well several years before the Switch, and even if its first year, the Switch wasn't nearly as big as it is today, so any company would be reasonable in holding out and waiting to push games onto the platform because the thing may flop pretty hard like the last one did. But because publishers like Bethesda were willing to push games out and willing to give this underpowered piece of shit tablet a shot, it has become one of, if not the best-selling console of all time, with an install base that loves it. Sure, it has issues, but that concept and being an early adopter to the hybrid console model sure makes it appealing to a lot of consumers. And I think that says a lot about gaming as a whole. It's possible to just make about any game run on any platform if a dev team is skilled enough and has the capital to put into the project. There is no reason classic games cannot run on modern hardware or even modern games on subpar hardware. As PC gaming becomes ever more popular, optimization seems to have taken a bit of a dive in quality. I don't know about you guys, but it used to be the case that you'd buy a game and it would just fucking work out of the box and it had no problems. It seems like ever since the mid-2010s, as PC gaming got more and more popular, this kind of optimization just kind of went down the toilet because everyone knows that PC games can be far more optimized than a console game. You can do a lot more to it on your own, so yeah, fuck it, just let the consumer do it, they'll figure it out. Consoles are machines built for gaming. They don't really tend to get as many optimization options as PC. Not all PCs are built for gaming. Like, sure, I could play Terraria on my Chromebook tablet, but why the fuck would I do that when I have a gaming PC or even a Switch that can play it just as well? On the flip side, this exposes some developers for being lazy or rushing out certain projects for the sake of profit. Gotta please those investors, am I right? While it's definitely had its fair share of being dogged on, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are two great examples of games that honestly could have been 1000% better looking if they were given more time in the oven. If you can make Doom 2016 run on the Switch 1 at 540p, I don't think anyone would care if Pokemon Violet ran at like 900p with better graphics. Hell, Breath of the Wild ran at 900p when docked, and it won Game of the Year in 2017 and is beloved by millions. My point is, if Doom can make it onto the Switch, there's no excuse for a series with the wealth of Pokemon to not look way better and run way better than it does. And on that note, there were like tons of lazy ports on the Switch. Just slap it on the Switch, charge $10 more than you normally would and call it a day. Who the fuck cares if it's laggy or if it runs like dog shit? You know, why does it matter? And to be super clear, I'm not saying that every game needs to be ported onto like something as weak as the Switch. There are probably games out there that really should not be put on the Switch, you know. Doom is arguably one of those games that probably should not have been put on the Switch, but it's there anyway. I just want to see more games on more platforms, more games for everybody. I'm not trying to hate on anyone, not trying to hate on anyone's preferred platform. I just want to see more people have more fun. Anyway, I suppose the moral of today's random video is that we should all be like Doom running on the Switch. Suboptimal, but extremely funny. Anyway, that's it. See you guys all in hell.